Okay, it's
Well,
recording.
it is. Well, good evening, everyone. Today we have our good friend Leon back to talk to us. Leon, welcome.
Hi, Mel. How are you?
Yeah, great. Yeah, just come back from a long cycle trip across Europe. This is our first video since I've come back, so it's been a long wait, and obviously I was keen to get back to a decent microphone and so on.
Yeah, I
But
think it's more than 5 weeks. So
oh,
almost 6 weeks.
it must be, yeah, yeah. So today, first of all, I want to pass it on to you to introduce yourself maybe and your channel and what you're about for those who may not have heard of you before.
Yeah, I also started now a YouTube channel. I hope it's not going to kill me, but let's try. And it's called Deeper Perspectives. I don't know if you can see it on the screen.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, and I already have about 130 views on my first video, which is a week ago. And not many subscribers, but let's hope that they will come and as they learn.
Ah, they will. Yeah.
So
tell us about your theme of your channel. It's because it's quite a different sort of theme to our channel here.
Yeah, what I want to do is I want to try to use history and what we know from archaeology and so on to discuss sometimes some philosophical issues and maybe psychological and things that are in natural philosophy. That's why I said nature as well. And why? Because I believe that history can teach us a lot about current events of today.
Absolutely.
So, which means that if we learn the history and we learn how people behaved back then, and what did they do, what was the interactions between them, what was the powers between the groups and so on, the political maneuvers and things like that, we will realize that what is happening today is not much different than what it was for thousands of years.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then people will understand as well why there was as well Zoroastrian, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, why they split, all these things, many of the issues will come clear, or clearer. And then further than that, I think we'll be able to understand things about ourselves as human beings.
Yeah.
What drives us? Is it, there's many things like envy and, like jealousy, all kinds of power. And I believe that history can teach us that.
I've been reading your book, The Culture of Wealth, for the last couple of days. And I have to say, it's a fantastic read.
You mean this book?
This one, yeah, very good. It's really fascinating. It's right up my street because I had a book prior to that, which was on Syrian history. And it took me the entire summer to read it. It was so heavy going, but your book is just straight to the point and really interesting anecdotes. I really enjoy it. And I can't wait to get on to the Islam part. I know you have a chapter on that.
It's about 22 pages or 21 pages.
Yeah.
I didn't write, I tried to write, as you know, about Judaism and the reasons of many things in Judaism, including in today's world, how we arrived to where we arrived. And then the Islam was by the way, because I couldn't understand it. So I tried to focus it, but now that we're talking about it, it's got under my skin and I want to find now all the answers. I know it's impossible, but I want to find them all. So, and that's what drives me, I mean, when there's a problem, it drives me crazy if I can't just find the solution,
Absolutely.
So I will try. And of course I will make mistakes, but I think I have a reason to believe that you will be, it will interest you what I have to offer. And maybe today as well, we will be able to talk maybe a little bit about Mecca.
Yeah.
And the
another thing
yes?
Yeah, another thing I would like to kind of encourage you to talk about is, we did a video together, as you say, about 6 or 7 weeks ago now. And there was quite an interesting reaction. It generated a lot of debate. I think one of the big things that you brought up was Babylonian Aramaic and its similarity to Arabic. And, you know, that opened up a whole load of possibilities in terms of our research, particularly because we had an Iraqi thesis and everything seemed to be pointing towards Iraq as the genesis of Iraq. But was there any issues arising out of that video and the responses people made that you wanted to come back on and respond to?
Yeah, look, that is my research. People can look at it. Some of them can agree, they cannot agree. I do not advocate for anyone to change his religion and to change his beliefs. I mean, it's a free world, thank God it's a free world still. And therefore, people are entitled to put their opinions, and they are entitled to accept my opinion, not to accept it, to look at the facts. It's up to them. And I'm not here to defame anyone, and it's like anything. I'm not here to say that Muslims were Jews. I don't think so. There are mixtures in history that come through, and then later on, a new thing evolves. If it is Christianity, if it's Islam, and so on. And then the progression is they occupy other people, and there's many people that are getting into the religion, and it's a different. Then it takes its own course. So, and that's true even in Judaism itself, because there's so many different factions of Jews, ultra religious ones, and you know, like reform now ones, and conservative, and there's so much. And in Christianity, you know, I don't have to even tell you. On top of all the historic Calvinist and Protestant and Catholic and so on, you have today a newborn and all kinds of evangelists and all kinds of people, all kinds.
Was there any particular issue that you wanted to respond to? Was there anything you wanted to correct, maybe in terms of people's perception, or maybe they got the wrong end of the stick in terms of what you were trying to say?
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know, you know, people, I understood that some people took offense, or maybe they thought when I mentioned Al-Bukhari as what I meant is the final compiler of the Quran. Now, I don't say anything bad about Al-Bukhari. He was a person that was working for the caliphs. He had his own reasons to even protect his own self, you know. So, and there's other Muslims that were complaining that he is a mouthpiece for the caliphs. And that will come through with the research that I will show. And then, of course, he was doing as best as he could, you know, maneuvering between the politics and the religion. And that's true even today. Now, many people think, oh, religion, but politics is stronger than religion. That's what I believe.
Was there anything on the Sana manuscripts that you wanted to refer to?
Okay, about the manuscripts, look, I'm looking at the inscriptions, and the Arabic inscriptions heavily point that the Arabic language was invented or made up or constructed, whatever you call it, around the beginning of the 700s, which means 730, 740. Now you can look at St. John of Damascus.
Can I just check? You mean more the script rather than the language, because there is records going back before that for the language itself.
Yeah, no, of course. But I'm speaking about the script.
Yes,
but not well. The language as well has been modified too.
Oh,
so even if you have things that are a bit more ancient, I think it's a modification of Arab tribal languages with Babylonian Aramaic, and that might be proven later on. Maybe if you do your research.
Yeah, can I just to jump in on something that Murad mentioned to me, that the Babylonian method of doing plurals matches that of Arabic, and this was something that Gabriel Salma, an Aramaic scholar, has pointed out, that it's something that connects Arabic to Babylonian Aramaic in a way that doesn't connect with Syriac. It's very specific. Do you know anything about that?
I'm not a linguist, and this is a problem, but so I only try to use my phonetical imagination and my Hebrew, and I find the Hebrew very, very useful in understanding Arabic words, and even words that people do not understand. Like I will show you, let's say later on, about Mecca, about you know, the Safa and Marwa. You know, the stones, they call it stones. It's not stones. You will see what is going to come out of it. But it's not only that. So I believe if sometimes it's easy for me to catch it, as you will see when we will speak about Mecca, and sometimes it takes me long. I have to think about it for long, and then think, and eventually it hits, and then I find out, you know, like. And there's many terms. Like, I mean, the one that many that I didn't even mention in the previous video, because you can't mention all of them. It's a language. There's hundreds or thousands of words. Like, for instance, Sahih al-Bukhari. Sahih, in Hebrew, it's actually Tzahich. Tzahich means bright. Tzahich is bright as the desert. It's Tzahich Kamidbar. And the tzahich, you know, like as bright as the desert. So it's a synonym of saying it's pure, you know? And sometimes they use only, not the whole tzahich, but half of it, tzach. Tzach kasheleg means as pure as snow, you know? Or as bright as snow.
There was a guy recently who did a presentation, a guy called Paul. I'm sure you've seen the video, where he spoke about Jerusalem, and he mentioned that the Jewish people had festivals which were called Hag. Hag is my guess at it, but is that how you would pronounce it, or would it be more similar to the Arabic Hajj?
No, look, I found with the Arabic, every time there's like a G, okay, in English it's a G, but in Hebrew it's a C. It's the C letter, but it's pronounced like the G in English.
Okay.
So it's every time there's a G, the Arabic has become a J. So the Hag becomes a Hajj.
Okay.
And the Hagag, the person who does the Hajj, the Hagag, becomes the Hajjaj.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, we know who that is.
Yes, I know who that is, and I have my reservations again, because it's true. It is that guy, but when? The question is which year? When? You know? So because I saw the video of Murad, which is very, very interesting and very nice. And I agree with many of the things there, but I do not agree on the timing.
Yeah, well, the timing is definitely open for discussion, but it kind of sets down a roadmap maybe that can be worked on and finessed.
Yes.
But hopefully,
why I don't agree on the timing as well. You can see even. Okay, again, sorry that I go into Al-Bukhari, the poor man. I mean, he probably was doing his job, but he had a disciple or a student called Muslim Ibn Hajjaj. Now, I don't know if that Hajjaj is the same Hajjaj, you know, because sometimes you can borrow a name and make a story, and then make the story and backdate it again. You know, the scourge of religions and even of modern researchers is the backdating.
Actually, I do want to give a plug to a song that is going to be released on my channel probably later on today. So this is probably going to be released maybe after the song has been released, but it's about that very thing. It's called Retroversions Row. It's about that whole idea of backdating, which seems to be a particular scourge in Islam.
Well, it's not only in Islam, it's in Christianity and in Judaism. Fortunately, it's in wherever human beings are there, you will find the backdating.
Yeah.
Why? Because they want to show that things have been done before, you know.
Yeah.
And
And they're probably
why I say
projecting
that?
meaning. They're projecting meaning onto a historical event, so they're applying what you
Yes,
see today on something that happened in the past. So it's gonna
yes.
happen.
Or they want to backdate the story, to say that was the story, so they backdate the thing. Now,
Yeah.
why I say that? Because you saw the seal of Hajjaj
Yeah.
is in Arabic, and I said to you that the Arabic inscriptions have not been there before 730, because Saint John of Damascus would have told us that. And I don't think he didn't say anything about that. And I think
Yeah.
whatever surah he read was in Babylonian Aramaic, because he must have known Aramaic. And even Northern Aramaic at that time was probably as quite closer to Babylonian Aramaic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't closer, I looked at his writings, and he has extensive writings. I mean, he has a whole book of more than 100 and something people, like Hellenists and Christians and Jews and Samaritans.
Yeah. Oh,
And
it's
guess who? It's number 101, 101
yeah.
was the Ishmaelites.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you read that document.
I think it's the something of truth, the fountain of truth, or fountain of something like that. I think it's,
There's so much that we can't even remember.
yeah.
Even
Yeah,
I
I've read
can't
some.
remember.
I've read some of his works. I actually think he's one of the brightest minds in history. But
Yeah.
let's move on to Mecca even.
You want to go to Mecca?
Yeah.
Okay, I will give you a little bit about Mecca. Hold on, let me just see if I can.
Yeah. So what?
Can you see?
Yeah.
Can you see my document here? I'm sorry that I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a professional documents, because I don't get paid here. I do it for my own.
Yeah.
And but I actually didn't finish this, and I wasn't really sure that we're going to talk about it today, but we can start.
We can make
And
a
then
start.
there
Yeah.
are some corrections, but I think there's some interesting things here that might give some clues about Mecca as the eventual holy city of Islam. Because if you remember correctly, I say that Islam was formed under the Abbasid Caliphates, which is about from 750. They started the rebellion at 744, I think. It took them 6 years or 2 years to 746. Then they have a few caliphs, and then the first one is an imam. His name is Muhammad. And then they said when they will start having a caliph, which is, I think, was it the son or the son's brother? You know, there's a few caliphs. Then they will start counting. It's an old legend that is a Christian legend of Bahira. And I think the legend is based on a true fact that was the original counting. And that's why I come to the fact that the Dome of the Rock was built by Caliph Al-Mamoun at about 822.
Okay.
That's the main thing that I base it on. And then as we go along, you'll understand, because I believe that the Islam, until the Abbasids, was Abrahamic centered.
Yeah.
It wasn't Muhammadic centered. And from the time that the Abbasids took over, they made it a Muhammadic center, which means Muhammad is the center of the religion.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, they had to create stories. And why they did it? Because that was their main card of legitimacy. Why they have to be the guardians of the empire, the caliphate, and the religion itself.
Can I just point out to our viewers, it's my belief that Muhammad, whoever he might have been, probably came from Iraq. So if the Abbasids are from that neck of the woods, it makes sense for them to say that they were in some way connected to his family. And so to create all these stories and a biography, even if it was a mythical one, in order to justify the power.
Yeah.
Now it may even be the case, maybe, that you might argue that he wasn't even a real person. Even that could have been fictional and totally backdated. I don't know how far you'd go yourself, but
look, I said that before. Even if you look at the Christian writings, they speak about Mehmed or Mahmad, and then later on, it is changed to Muhammad, and that change is for another video. So
do you think that change occurred at the onset of the Abbasid regime?
No, I think that change occurred just before.
Okay.
That's what I think. It occurred just before that.
Yeah.
And if you look carefully in the Quran, Muhammad is mentioned only 4 times.
Yeah.
While many of like Abraham is mentioned, I think 25 times, and Moses 69 times, and you know what I'm saying? So it points to me that the beginning of the Quran was in the early 700s, and I suspect it was somewhere between Al-Khira and Surah, and then it was then modified. It was afterwards a work in progress, modified until around the mid 800s.
I just asked you there, it's one of my ideas looking at the Quran and aware of Surah and Hira and the significance of both of those places, Surah being a Jewish academy, Hira being a Christian center, that it seems to me that they're imitating the way the Talmud is put together. It's kind of like they're recording debates that have occurred and condensing them and distilling them in a similar way to what you might find in the Talmud. Would that be your view on it?
No. I think it was originally BA and Arabs, and then because they expanded quickly and there was a whole empire in front of them, the Christian empire, the Byzantium and so on, they start getting influence from the Christians. And then because, you know, they wanted to make everybody Muslim, that was their thing, they started bringing Christian narratives into the Quran in order to incorporate many Christians. Because the same thing, and many Christians probably did convert. You know, it's like anything, anybody thinks, you know, they say, oh, you know, Jewish people didn't convert. Many Jewish people did convert to Christianity at the time, either by will or by force. And the same thing happens when Islam took over. And then when they were capturing all these areas where Damascus is and all these places, it was full of Christians at that time because the Jews already become a tiny minority and most of the people were Christians.
So just to clarify, when they introduced the Christian narratives, you're saying, into it, it was in order to proselytize the Christians to this faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Because
I suppose it would have to line up with whatever the earliest manuscripts are, but I don't, yeah.
No,
but you don't think that they were influenced by the methodologies of the rabbis in terms of the Talmud? You don't think that's...
Well, I can't, because I never studied Talmud properly. I've done an elective in some university course, you know, so I have some idea about the Talmud, but I don't have a very in-depth knowledge about the Talmud. And I don't think that was the case. Well, I mean, of course, because it's a Talmudic academy, they took some ideas there and so on. And like I said, the people there eventually become one nation, you know?
Yeah.
The Jewish people and the Arabs become one nation under the Arab control.
Yeah.
And within a few generations, it's just gone. And then I believe that at that time, you know, once you start having a new breed of people, that they start making themselves, try to make for themselves a legacy and making a new religion, which is Islam, you don't need Judaism anymore. It's you know, it's at the back door, it's at the back burner, you know, I mean, you don't need it anymore. You carry on with your own thing. And that's why they retained their Jewish names. There are a lot of Jewish names because they thought we are now, never mind Judaism, we are the descendants of the Banu Israel, and like the Hebrews and the King David and King Solomon. And the Jews, yes, there is Jews. They're now a minority. They are from Judah. Judah is the same as in Christianity. Judah become a name that nobody wants to deal with because it's connected to Judaism. Same thing with the Islam. Now these are the Jews. The problem was that as the Islamic Caliphate grew, many of the Jewish people and the Christians were the literate ones. You have to remember, Christians were before Jews. They become Christians. They have literacy, like St. John of Damascus is a brilliant example, but there were many. So they become powerful in administration, and the Jews as well, whoever remained as Jews, and they were Talmudic and so on, the ones that get out of that and they become the administrators there in that caliphate. And the caliphate all the time wants to make them Muslims. And I can assure you that many of them became Muslims.
Yeah.
And if they didn't become, there were times where there was a caliph that made them Muslims. Yeah. Like the one that I spoke about, the Al-Mutawakkil.
Yeah. And of course, when they became Muslim, they brought their beliefs into the religion, and that
yes,
would have had a
they can
bring
they can bring their beliefs. And just look at this, interesting in the Quran when they speak about Jesus saying, like Jesus saying to everybody else, like in the Quran, I told you that there will be a prophet after me, and his name is Ahmad. Do you know that verse?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Ahmad, okay, I wouldn't say Ahmad, maybe Mahmad, but maybe Ahmad, it's very close. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that was the whole idea, and now that's what there was. And Islam, from that point of view, they become very successful because it was very aggressive, and they captured territories, and whoever didn't want to convert was made to convert. And even, either by the dhimmi laws, which is again, every time when I read, I encounter the Hebrew, Babylonian, Aramaic, like dhimmi. Dhimmi is dam. Dam, it means blood. So it's blood laws. It's actually, I'm discriminating between blood and blood, between a Muslim blood or a Christian or a Jewish blood.
So actually, dhimmi essentially is a very racist term then, really.
Well, it's your blood is not my blood.
Yeah.
You become a Christian, maybe your children, you become a Muslim, maybe your children will become my blood.
Yeah.
And then they don't need to be subjected to the dhimmi laws.
Tell me, I'm going to redirect you to your document there. What do we know about Mecca and the Kaaba? So can I ask you to give us a...
So look, the document itself is unfinished, although the ideas are there and they are in my notes. So like I said, we started with that, so we can do this a bit, and then the next time we can do a progression because so we will look at it and like I said, okay, what do we know about the Mecca and the Kaaba? If you look at many Islamic stories, which I believe are imaginary and can never be confirmed, most of them are about the Kaaba. When you talk about Mecca, they speak about the Kaaba. And this in the Quran, I speak about it in the Quran. Now, because Mecca is the city, the Kaaba is that center, or the holy center, okay? So, 1 second, I'll transfer here. So, the stories, they start with Adam that built it, okay? And some of it say, no, the angels built it. And then some of them say, it was a white stone from paradise. This is some of the hadith as well, which has turned black from human sin. And there's all kinds of stories. Now, the name Mecca does not appear in the Quran. and does not seem to have any special meaning. These are the things that I wrote because that's what I see, you know, when I do my own research.
I can hear people saying, but there is a reference to Mecca once in the Quran.
Yes, we will get there. We will get there just now. The Bakka.
So you're saying this is a false reference to Mecca in the Quran?
No, it might. Yes, it's a false. Of course, it's a false reference. You'll see just now. Okay, we will get there.
Yeah.
So most of the stories are from Muslim writers from the beginning of the 9th century, such as Al-Bukhari and Al-Tabari. And now, the same as the whole thing, if you go to Britannica and you go to Wikipedia and so on, all of these stories are now historical accounts. And although they can never be confirmed, none of these stories can be confirmed. Yeah. And quite a few of them can be shown that they are made up and remodeled on biblical stories. And that I will show you later when we come to interesting things about some major Islamic stories. Okay, so here we're getting again to St. John of Damascus. He writes about the Ishmaelites' beliefs in 2 lengthy documents. You know, at least I found 2 lengthy documents. Now, he does not mention anything about Mecca, Medina, Islam, or Quran. Yeah. He quotes 2 surahs which indicate some pre-Quran documentation. Okay, the one with the camel that is not appearing in the Quran, you know, the holy camel, things like that.
It might have been thrown out because it was so ridiculous.
Yes, maybe, yeah. And the one still sticks to the Old Testament narrative of Abraham ordered to sacrifice Isaac and not Ishmael. In St. John of Damascus, he says Isaac, not Ishmael.
Interesting. That's a good point.
Okay, the other one about the holy camel does not appear today. So now, St. John of Damascus, of course, he is polemic against the Islam, and even the name Ishmaelites was very polemic because in the Bible, Ishmaelite means like somebody that fights all the time and other people will fight with him and so on, you know, like, so it was polemic from the Christianity and even from the Judaism later on. Yeah. You know? Anyhow, St. John of Damascus constantly harassed his Ishmaelite audience, whoever was that audience, about the unknown Kaaba, which by description can never fit Jerusalem Holy Mount. Do you remember that, or you probably read?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I remember him referring to, but I don't remember the exact details on why it doesn't fit with the Temple Mount. I can't remember that.
Anyhow, even St. John of Damascus or any external document outside 8th century story writer of Islam mention Abd-Al Malik, who is very central to the story of Islam regarding the Al-Aqsa Mosque. St. John that doesn't mention Abd-Al Malik anywhere, but even not only St. John. And then this is important because you will find out when you will do your research about Abd-Al Malik and the caliphs that come after him. There's about 9 of them in about, I don't know, 30, 40 years, 50 years. I mean, it's like a progression that you will find that you won't find any evidence except the stories, again, of, you know, Al-Tabari, Al-Bukhari. That's what you're going to find. You're not going to find. And why you're not going to find? Because I don't think they knew. And sometimes you don't have, you know, they want to show a caliphate that is all the time changing. But there are periods where there's no caliph. It's actually warlords that fight against each other. And then they can never win until somebody manages to win, and then he becomes a caliph. So you can have 10 years of warlords. Look at Somalia. They had like warlords there for 30 years and there was no, until somebody managed to submit everybody else, and then he becomes the ruler, you know what I'm saying? So now, the other thing that I wanted to say is which was the direction of prayer. We don't know. That I'm going to discuss later on. But I was looking at about Mecca and the Kaaba. Now, it looks like from many scholars and other people, it looks like that place was a worship place because of the black stone, which may have been some ancient meteorite that fell there, and it was considered holy. Okay. Now, again, the Hebrew comes handy because the Kaaba, even the Muslims say that it's maybe because of the shape of a cube, because the shape of a cube in Arabic is similar to Kaaba, but in Hebrew, kubiyah is a cube. But there may be another explanation. This is a bit of a speculation, but it can be, which is the kokab. Kokab in Hebrew, kokab, or the kaukab in Arabic, or can be kakaba, is a star. Star, a planet, star.
Yeah.
Star. I mean, that Kaaba fell from the sky. So there it is. It's the star. You know what I'm saying? That can be.
Well, it could fit in with Aphrodite.
Well, that's what Saint John of Damascus is saying. He doesn't speak about the Kaaba in Mecca, but he speaks about in general that they were worshiping the Venus. So they thought maybe it's from Venus. This thing fell from Venus as a sign for us, and that was before they become Abrahamic. Okay. So now, what I found out is very interesting, that some Muslims call the Kaaba, and this is nice, Al-Bayt Al-Atiq, which some English translators decided that it means the emancipated house. But here the Hebrew comes handy, and this is straight Hebrew. Al-Bayt is Habayt, Al-Atiq is Ha'atiq, and it means the ancient house. And you can see it's one of these words that even infiltrated to the West later. Atiq has become antique. Antique.
Yeah.
There's other ones like Africa and Europe and beer. These are not related to Islam, but you know what I'm saying? They are words that came from Semitic places and then they somehow went into the Greek, from the Greek to the Romans, from the Romans. You understand. I don't know if you watched my first video on my channel. It's about the alphabet and the origins of Judaism and the alphabet, where I claim that the origins of Judaism as a monotheistic religion must have been in Babylon and not beforehand, like they claim with the Bible. And that's because of the alphabet, because the Torah is written in the Babylonian Aramaic, or what you call the Royal Aramaic script, which is meant for a certain audience, and only certain audience can write it. And these were the Babylonian Jews. And that's where I believe was the start of the Judaism as a monotheistic religion. But that's another story. It's for my channel.
Yeah. It's certainly when they put it down in paper, they gathered whatever stories they had from the past that was there, that they gathered them together and put some order to them, even if they may have existed in an oral fashion maybe prior to that. Would that be fair to say?
Now the next thing is a pure speculation, but I can tell you there is something to it. Because Mecca, if you go onto the internet, you won't see anything about Mecca. What does it mean? The word Mecca. You cannot find anything. I have a speculation what it means, and it's based on some quite logic. And again, it comes from the Hebrew and from the stories that I know from the Bible and things like that.
Can I have a guess before you share?
Yes.
Low ground, hollow ground, no. Destruction.
Okay, I'll give you a clue. Mecca is considered by the Muslims, or whoever was then Muslims before they were Muslims. There were the Abrahamists there, okay, which I believe it's the Jews and the Arab tribes. it was considered the place of paradise. And it will come to the next point, which I will show. But so if it was considered the place of paradise, think, who built paradise?
Well, paradise is a Persian word. I don't know if that helps us, but are we talking about the Garden of Eden or something like that?
Yes, Garden of Eden. Yes, okay.
Yeah,
they call it paradise.
But that would locate it in Iraq, then, surely, between the Euphrates and the Tigris.
That's what we know. But I mean, there is a history, and there is theology, and the progression is when there's certain people in certain places and they believe in certain things, they start making stories about these places because they want pilgrimage, they want people to come there, they want to show how wonderful it is, and Mecca is wonderful. Look at our meteorite, that the black stone, and it's unique, and it must be. And then the stories start compiling, and then the story, no, the original paradise was in Mecca. No, not anywhere else. That's where it is.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's in the Quran.
Yeah.
So I gave you the clue. Who built paradise?
Adam? I don't know.
Well, Adam,
God.
yes, but he needed some help, right?
Yeah, God, potentially, I don't know.
God, yes, but God does not do things by himself. He sends messengers.
Yeah, okay. So, I don't know, the angel Gabriel or Michael or one of those.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So my expectation is that it does not, it's rely on some theological, that it's on Archangel Michael, because in Hebrew, Mika El, and you take the El away because it's Mika Mocha El, like you, God. So you take that God away, and the Mecca, probably comes from there.
Wow.
But this is a speculation, but it has a very interesting theological things to it.
Yeah, that's very interesting, actually.
Yeah. So, and then how do I know as well? Because because they say that the creation of Adam himself was done by the angel Michael. He brought the sand or the soil, and that's in the Islamic traditions too.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I knew you had a bombshell waiting.
Well, I have a few. There's nothing compared to in the future. I'll bring things even from Christianity and Judaism, and so I don't know. It's just you do it for the love, Like I love to think about these things. It's like puzzles, that you have to try and figure out. So there's nobody give you any explanation about Mecca. Not the Muslims, not the Jews, no one. Now you have to start thinking there must be some significance to the name. That's what we learn when we do law. The words are very important. So now I apply it into the theology, which is, the words, to try and find the word. And then if the word fits into the story, then it's probably the right word. It's still speculative, this one. This one is still speculative, but I will show you something which I don't think is that speculative, which adds flavor to this. So now, why it is that angel? Because he's the one that the Michael is the one that is usually merciful and so on. So there comes the second story, which has got to do with Mecca and with Hagar. They say that she went between the two mountains, the Safa and Marwa, and she ran 7 times until she found the water in the Zamzam well. And I have a few interesting things there now, because they don't know what is Safa really, and the Marwa, they say it's a flintstone and things like this. Now, that you have to think, and I thought about it to try and see, is it connected to Hebrew? And guess what? I think it is, and I will show you now.
Oh, brilliant.
So anyhow, so the meaning of the Mecca, let's just finish that one, is by itself, it's like God. So Mecca, it's like God. So it means it's actually the God's place. You know, God created the Mecca, is the paradise that God created, okay? So it can be referred as God's place, which perfectly explains its substitution of Jerusalem, which according to the Bible was where God resided.
Okay,
you see, later on, you will find out with the Islamic, build up, is that they transposed Jerusalem to Mecca.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the final reason of the prayer and so on will be on the next video, because I learned my lesson. I'm not going to throw everything, then everybody will throw darts at me and say, this guy is talking, So we will do it by progression. So, and then if anybody wants to refute my speculation about Mecca, I challenge him to find an explanation for the name of that city, because there isn't in the internet.
Can I just throw something out? I have to look this up, but I'm aware of a number of pilgrimage sites associated with St. Michael. And there is one in the southwest of England, another one in France, Mont Saint-Michel. And there's a story that these line up on a map, each of these different sites across Europe. So I wonder if it actually continues from Jerusalem and on towards Mecca. Probably not. But.
Well, that I don't know, but I know that in the 4th century, that's what I read, is that in Christianity, they assigned many places as a place of Saint Michael, like similar to exactly what you're saying. So I don't know exactly where they are, but I know that it was normally in the 4th century, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they said this is, because they dedicate them to Saint Michael.
Yeah.
But you see, in Christianity, some of Christianity, because like I said, there's many Christianity, but some of it, and I think quite a major part, I don't remember who exactly, but the Michael, the angel Michael, okay, sorry, we're speaking about Angel Michael, not Saint Michael, Angel Michael.
Yeah.
Angel Michael was substituted as, or was made as equivalent to Jesus. Do you understand or not?
I'm not sure where you're going with that. Are you saying that in some forms of Christianity they considered Saint Michael?
Not Saint Michael. Angel Michael.
Well, when I say Saint Michael, I mean Saint Michael the Archangel. So that's a force of habit. But so Archangel Michael, let's say.
Archangel Michael, because Archangel Michael is considered like God himself. It's just because they say God himself can never come to anyone, but he has to give you some angel.
Yeah. And he's the top of the hierarchy.
The top of the, not exactly. Well, the top angels, yes, there's Archangel Gabriel, which the Muslim love more because he is more powerful, but Archangel Michael, why they say, because Jesus is supposed to be a human but a non-human at the same time.
Yeah. Well, in the Old Testament, from a Christian perspective, when there's a reference to the angel of God, Christian theologians interpret that as a reference to Jesus foreshadowed. So that might be where you're coming from in terms of the Archangel Michael, maybe.
Yeah, well, you can read about it and then you tell me, because I'm not a Christian, but I'm trying to, again, look when we will get to Christianity, maybe in a few months, I hope, I don't know when, you will see, again, I try to analyze what I can, and then I bring the facts, and whoever wants to take it, it's fine. There's all kinds of people in the world, and I respect every person has his own ideas. I mean, some people think that Jesus spoke to them last night, or God spoke to them last night, and some people wouldn't say this is utter nonsense. Everybody has his own belief. and his own struggles in life, and it's fine. There's no problem.
If there's Christian theologians in the chat, they can leave their comments about your ideas about Michael the Archangel. But that's very interesting.
That's fine. Then they can read about it, because that's what I read, you know, on some things, you know. But like I said, I'm human. I'm not an archangel, so I must be wrong many times. So, well, I think
you're right half the time. We'll still get a few nuggets out of you.
Yeah. So
I think that might be my philosophy in the channel. You know, we'll hit a few gold mines here and there. You know.
Yeah. Okay. So where is the Bakka coming from?
Interesting. Yeah.
The Bakka. I think the Bakka in the Quran was still referring to the Bakka, the big Bakka, the Hebrew Bakka, which is the Beersheba Bakka. That's according to the story of the Bible, that Abraham took Hagar and Ishmael. He took them to Beersheba, and from there they went into the desert. Okay, but the Beersheba, the city, is inside a valley, which is called Bakka, Bikat Beersheba. Bakka means Bika.
Can I just ask, is that valley connected to the valley called Bakka near Jerusalem, or is that different?
No, the valley in Jerusalem is the Emek, or valley of Bik'ah. You see, there's synonymous words. So Emek and Bik'ah is the same thing. So you can say Bik'ata Bechi. Bechi is crying. So the one in Jerusalem is a valley of the tears.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one. Sorry to interrupt you. That's the one that the Psalms is referring to.
The one who referring to?
The book of Psalms.
Yes. Yeah. That's the one, the book of Psalms.
Yeah.
And I think Paul as well spoke about it in his last video. I don't think it's that one. I think it's the original biblical Bik'ah, Bakka, and Bakka is the root, which means like Bik'ah, valley. So I think the original Islamic story in the Quran, and even in the Quran, you have to be very careful, because it's not a given. Because Hagar is not even mentioned once in the Quran.
Really?
Yes.
I could have sworn it was. Yeah, that is surprising.
Yes, it's mentioned in the stories.
Yeah.
Not in the Quran itself. And now it reminds me about you remember the sacrifice, whose son was sacrificed? Was it Isaac or was it Ishmael? So St. John of Damascus said to us that it's still Isaac, according to the I wouldn't call it Islamic, the Abrahamic, we tend to call them Muslims, but at that time I don't think they were Muslims. Yeah. They were Abrahamists.
Yeah.
Okay. Abrahamists. There, St. John said to us, Isaac. In the Quran, it's not mentioned who's the son. It doesn't say Ishmael or Isaac. But in the Islamic stories, it's been starting to change, and some of them start saying, no, it's Ishmael. And I think I read that some of them still said Isaac, but eventually they wane, because Ishmael is now the favorite son.
I think I'll have to double check, but I think in the surah where Ishmael is mentioned, there's a gap between that mention and then the later mention of the sacrifice. And so in that gap, some have wrongly interpreted it to mean Ishmael instead of Isaac. I probably have said that wrong. There's a mention of Isaac and then there's a gap. And after the gap, some Muslims interpret it to refer not to Isaac, but to Ishmael, even though it's actually, it's implied, despite the gap, that it's still talking about Isaac. I think that's how some people have read it.
Anyhow, I think that the Bakka is the original Bakka was in Beersheba, but and then it's developed in Islam and it was transposed. I think it was transposed before Islam, when there were Abrahamists, which included the Babylonian Jews mixing with the Arabs and so on. It was transposed already before that story.
Yeah,
And
to
then,
where?
Again, transposing it from Palestine.
Yeah.
And I say Palestine, and I'm not speaking about now politics, because I call it Palestine because at that time it was called Palestine. It was changed in the Roman times from Judea to Palestine.
Yeah.
You know, and then so I try to, before the change, I call it Judea. After the change, I call it Palestine. Today, I will call it State of Israel / Palestine, because we don't know yet what's going to happen there at some stage.
So you're saying it was transposed to somewhere else, but where?
It was transposed to Mecca. So it was transposed from Beersheba, the same as we have transposition from Jerusalem to Mecca. Then the story of Hagar was transposed from Beersheba in the Paran Desert to Mecca in the Arabian Desert.
I've no problem with the idea of being transposed, but what I'm concerned about is the timing of this. So when are we talking about this transposition to have occurred? Early part of the 8th century?
My speculation is in the early part of the 8th century.
Okay, that's fine. I got the impression you meant sometime in the 7th century. That's why I was a little bit...
Not 7th century,
no. That still sounds
again,
right
the same time when we speak about that Surah Academy and so on, and you know, you have to start writing new stories, and then you transpose and you take and you borrow and you start transposing, and you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
So before the expensive story about Muhammad, Mecca, and Medina, and Hijrah, the place was considered holy to idol worshippers. I'm speaking about Mecca. And after that, to the Ishmaelites who become monotheistic. From then onwards, the stories just progress and develop, and then they take their own course. Okay. So I say at least before 730, there is no recording of any pilgrimage to Mecca, or any of the stories of Muhammad praying there or even born there. That's my thing. We will find out as we research and go along.
Yeah, there is some, just to cut, there are references to the Hajj in the early part of the 700s, but it doesn't mention Mecca. It just refers to a Hajj. So,
and again, the references again to the Hajj are again from who? Again, the same suspects.
Yeah.
Tabari, Bukhari, these are the same thing.
Well, the one that's there, there's two of them that are recorded. One is on a parchment, and the other is on a rock inscription from literally in the first decade to, I think, the outer years 717. So about from 702 to 717. There's a reference.
I have to look at it because again,
but if I can just finish, it's one of them is the nephew of Abd-Al Malik, and he is writing to a governor in Egypt to invite him to come to the Hajj. Now, it doesn't say where exactly it is. It's likely that it's probably Petra or Jerusalem, because I can't imagine them making a massive trip beyond there from Egypt. But yeah,
I have to see this thing and I have to look at it because again, like I said, every time you had the inscriptions which do not correspond, and now you start having Quran leaves, one in Birmingham, one here, one there, and I don't want to get into it too much, but you can see they can never really date the ink, and they don't know when the parchment is. It's so easy to just come with a leaf or so and show, here, look at us, we are a hero. We're showing that the story is right. It's not that. I have to look at each and one of these because I found already a few that were not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to understand, the person who's a researcher usually comes from a community. What is he going to tell his community? I found that the inscription is from 740.
Yeah.
He's going to be excommunicated.
Yeah.
So and I found it in some of the articles. They have one of them is brilliant, but then he's starting to try and manipulate it and say, no, it could have been maybe 20 years earlier, and then no, even a little bit earlier than that, and then yes, it comes to Abd-Al Malik. Here we got it at 690.
We've forced it.
You know.
Yeah.
So
there is a lot.
I want the same thing. Is they say that this. I want them to take it to an American university and recheck it there, into a secular American university. Yeah. And then I will believe them.
Yeah.
Okay. Because according to the stories and according to the inscriptions and according to the way that it looks like, it's never happened before that. And it's the Abbasids who are responsible for Islam and the Islamic story and the Muhammad central view, becoming the Muhammadic view. You know what I'm saying? I call it the Muhammadic view because now Muhammad has become the whole thing. There's more stories about Muhammad and Muhammad and Muhammad, which were not there before.
Yeah. It's growing with time.
Yes, it's growing with time.
Do you think that in the early days of the Abrahamists, they focused on Jerusalem and then it became focused on Mecca, as Paul suggested?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Seems a kind of a workable idea.
What's your opinion? You can remember Mecca, the place is very far from Palestine and Babylonia in those times, at that era. Yeah. I mean, it could have taken you at least 2 months if you were working like 30 kilometers a day. And there was danger in the way of, and even in the Islamic stories, there was a danger that you're going to die on the way to Mecca. I mean, from there, it's
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it's a ridiculously long way.
Yeah.
So, what's your opinion of Petra then, if I can ask?
Look, we can come there in subsequent videos.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's maybe it's
but
a bit too
because
early.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. It may have been that Petra was the birthplace, or close to Petra, because the Ta'i were in a big area. Even if you look at the map, it was a big area from Hira to Petra. Maybe he was born somewhere close there, and he actually died in Jerusalem. That's what I believe.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
And then instead of that, they said, no, he was born in Mecca, and he was born in Mecca and he died in Medina.
Yeah.
I think, was it like that?
Yes, I think that's the way it's said. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I have.
Anyhow, so I'm going to stick to my theory that the Quran beginnings is in what I call the Jewish Babylonian Aramaic. Yeah. And the Islam formation and the Arabic language is subsequent, and its subsequent Quran building was in this order. So it was the Arabic language, the Islam formation, then the Arabic language. When I say language, I mean the script. Okay.
All right. So let me just to clarify. So you're saying that the theology happened before they turned it into Arabic. Are you saying that?
Like, some of it, yes. But then the Quran building, the Quran, I said to you, there was a Quran, but it was work in progress.
Yeah.
Until the mid-8th century. This is according to my views and whatever research I've made. Other people can do other researches and they can say whatever they want.
Yeah. So you would place it in terms of being put together in Kufa, not in Hira. I suppose Hira would have been demolished by that stage.
So I say it started in Babylonia in the city of Kufa, which was right by the Jewish Talmudic Academy of Surah. And I would say that the change to Mecca as a major city of Islam is a much later event.
Yeah. Interesting. I think that's probably a good place to stop.
I will give you the last one if you want. It's about the Safa and Marwa, because there we're going to stop. You know, in the Zamzam well. So, first of all, the first thing is the Zamzam. So then I came to me, what in Hebrew, Zimzum means, the sound of the water, or an insect goes, zzz, like the flowing, you know. And then if it is a thing, they call it Zamzam. Zamzam is like he did something, you know, even if he whistles, like, you know. Or in modern Hebrew, they say if it's an apparatus that makes the noise, they call it Zamzam.
Right.
So that's where it comes from, the Zamzam. And then
So,
it's
something
actually
that's
the
noisy
Zamzam
would-
well is the well that goes.
Yeah,
That's what it is, and not the story of stop, stop, and I don't know what. That's what I think is the Zamzam.
Does
well.
that give you a clue to its location, or is that like a story that's been added to a particular well?
No, they just took the voice that the well makes and they made it. They called it the Zamzam well.
Yeah.
The well that makes the noise of the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the mountains, Safa and Marwa. And this is in the Bible, it's all the time when they speak about all kinds of stories in the Old Testament. Many times they speak about when you feel full of food, is it called satiated?
Satiated.
Satiated in English, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, satiated.
And then when you're first, you quench your thirst. Is called what? Saturated or quenched?
Yeah, quenched. Yeah, quenched your thirst.
Quenched. So
yeah.
satiated and quenched.
Yeah.
So guess what? Safa, I think is from the Hebrew sova or savea, sova, which means satiated. Satiated.
Yeah.
And Marwa comes from marva. Marva means ravui. Marva is quenched.
Oh my
so
God.
Hagar found the well, and she found the place of paradise in the Bakka, which is the valley between Safa and Marwa.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And then she found a place that she could live, where she can be. She
that's
can
amazing,
have her
man.
fill in food for her and Ishmael, the young Ishmael, and they can have their water.
That makes
and
perfect sense
Safa
now.
and Marwa. That's it.
Oh my God, this
not
is breaking news, man.
Yes, so at least some of the Muslims, if they think that this is right, they must thank me at least for that. So
yes, thank you, Leon, on behalf of all Muslims. Wow, so, that's amazing, man.
Yes.
That's an amazing insight.
Yes,
I think you're right on that one.
I don't think they will thank me for the other stories. The same like every religion is not going to thank me.
There's going to be pluses and minuses.
Many of the Jews think I'm not a Jew. They think I'm I don't know what I am. I think that my values are a little bit more like Judaism. You know?
Well, so, that's probably a good place to finish on, because that leaves a nice cliff.
We'll finish with one more sentence that is becoming sort of my motto, is
yes,
because
please,
what we have to unearth.
Yeah.
And I told you that, but I think, you know, Josephus Flavius, he was a Jewish Roman historian. It's a complicated story that we will get in the future into. And he had this wonderful statement, which says, the truth is immortal and eternal. The truth is immortal and eternal.
Yeah.
So what do we have to do? We actually just have to uncover it. Because it's there.
Yeah.
Now, we will make mistakes. Some of it is speculation. Some of it is mistake. But I'm sure if we persevere, we will get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely. Hear, hear.
Okay.
Leon, it's been an absolute pleasure and an eye-opener, and I'm super excited for what the audience say in response. I'm sure they've got some brilliant nuggets of gold from you today.
Please tell them to buy my book. You know, at least I can make at least somebody can pay my lunch. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Give him a cup of coffee. Buy his book. It's a great book. I've forgotten it. The Culture of Wealth. There it is.
Yeah,
Culture of Wealth.
I'll show it again. Culture of Wealth by Leon Perez. Every time somebody buys my book, I have a small lunch.
Yeah, absolutely. Leon, thank you so much, and we must get you back again very soon.
Thank you very much. Now I have to say leave or stop recording. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was jeepers. That was brilliant. Let me just put this back on again. That was brilliant.
Well, we have more things, much more heavy stuff. So
that is, Leon, you have no idea. I was like, okay, like it's a lot. You really built it up to a lovely crescendo at the end. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you just explained Safa and Marwa. That's
okay.
Oh, that's great. Because people have tried to say, is it a particular location, and they're trying to get significance. But now that you've explained the meanings, it could be anywhere. They can transpose that to any two hills. It doesn't have to be a significant place. It's this idea of putting meaning onto a location that maybe is just nothing, just desert. Like.
Yeah, well, it was an oasis there, I'm sure. So she found an oasis, and it quenched her thirst from the Zamzam oil well, and then it filled her with the Safa, the mountain that has plenty.
That's brilliant. Listen, I will let you go. I'm.
Thank you very much.
Tomorrow, if you want to do videos for your channel, you know
we can talk about it. Okay, so thank you and bye bye.
All right, thanks, Leon. Cheers to that.